I'd like to call the committee of the whole meeting for Monday, March 2nd, 2026 to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gaffino.
Here.
Trustee Christensen.
Here.
Trustee Curtis. Here. Trustee Gately.
Here.
Trustee Lowry.
Here.
Trustee Nedved.
Here.
Trustee Salazar.
Here.
All right, thank you. Audience comments? Anybody new want to speak? Seeing none. Trustee comments? Seeing none. Item under discussion, Steve?
Thank you, Mayor. And 1 second. Item number 1 under discussion tonight is our annual budget overview that Jason's going to present. Every year, as part of our budget process, we start with the department heads working on their individual budgets, usually by end of December, but really get into it in January and February. Jason's first review is simply an overview. So we've compiled all the department's budgets. We're going through it. We haven't had to really cut a whole lot of stuff out of it yet. Looking at it right now, and he's just given an overview of where we're at in this year's fiscal budget compared to what we're looking at for next year, and then all of the big ticket items that we're working on. On the 16th, you'll actually have the more departmental, more in-depth view where we actually go through each department a little deeper, make sure that the board has questions or anything we can follow up. Then our typical process is if the board has some real concerns or questions, we can bring it back again in April for another review. Some years we have, some years we haven't. And then it goes, first meeting in May is the approval process. With that, Jason's going to walk us through the budget overview.
All right. So we're going to start with personnel, since personnel usually makes up the largest portion of the budget each year. Pay adjustments effective June 1st. By contract, Public Works is 3.25% increase. Police sergeants 3.25%. Police officers 4.5%, and then the non-union employees 3.0%. Health insurance, we're going to see some increases this year from our provider. HMO is up 19.7%. PPO and the high deductibles up 21.7%. So that's going to add a lot to the budget this year. On the dental side, no increase on the HMO and PPO. We're looking at about a 4.9% increase. IMRF, so that's a retirement for the non-public safety employees. Our current rate this year is 9.77%. We're projecting it to go up a little bit, just on the safe side for next year at 11%. So blending the two, we're budgeting at about 10.28% of salary for non-public safety. We do have one personnel change to kind of talk about, or we're going to propose in this budget. Really what we're looking to do here is improve operations without really improving any of the headcount within the budget. So we are proposing creating a Public Works Operations Assistant position, but this is a position that's kind of moving some people around, which I'll get into in a little bit as kind of how it works. But some of the primary duties of this position is really things that are being handled by a few different people now. We're looking to just kind of centralize it into one person. So they would help schedule and coordinate trainings, meetings, testing, and records management within Public Works. They would they'd be the point of contact to field the resident complaints and assist with communicating back to those solutions, helping with the IEPA and lead service line requirements, prepare letters, memos, and other correspondence as needed, prepare resident notifications for any capital projects such as the road program and closures, maintenance schedules going on, and then helps with various public works programs such as tree replacement, sidewalk repairs, and things like that. So I mentioned that we're looking to do this without a head count. So basically the flow would be the person who's currently in the utility billing specialist position would move into this role. Because she does a lot of these things currently, so we would move her to Public Works. The person who sits at our front desk, our customer service specialist, would then basically backfill into the utility billing role. Then we have a accounting assistant who's about 28, 30 hours a week. We would move him to full-time, and basically that customer service position would get eliminated. But then since he's going to be in the office more working every day, he would help out basically on the customer service, like people coming up to the front desk, taking on some phone calls. So basically we're creating a position, eliminating a position, but it's all still the same 3 people kind of getting moved around. So what that would look like is on the finance department, we'd go down by 0.7 because essentially we're eliminating one position, but then increasing 0.3 FTEs, so we're down 0.7. And on the public works and water side, we're splitting this position since it helps out in both, a half of a person in each role. So really what we're doing is we're adding 0.3 FTEs to the budget, mainly just because we're making one employee go from part-time to full-time. Debt, we currently have 2 bond outstanding. The 2017 bonds were for the water capital improvements, and then our 2024 bonds were for the Public Works facility. In total, we have $15.7 million outstanding. And this upcoming year, we're going to have about $1.7 million of principal and interest payments come due. We are waiting to see about the low or no interest loans from the IPA for some of the water capital projects, such as those lead service lines. But we probably will not hear until later this summer whether or not we're going to approve for those or not. But we may need some sort of alternate revenue source bonds to pay for some water capital upcoming. So kind of to be determined on that front. Moving into some of the major revenues within the general fund. The sales tax line, that includes our sales tax, grocery tax, and cannabis tax. We report that all as one. Still one of our strongest revenues, our largest in the general fund this current year. So we're looking at the this column here is what we're looking at for our budget. So a budget of $7.5 million. We're up about $150,000 or 2% from where we're looking this year to come in at. Primarily due to, we have some new businesses, obviously the Riverfront Ram, Beef Shack, just general inflation. And then if you look down on this use tax line, recent changes at the law have pushed a lot of the stuff that was reported as use tax and split throughout the state as a per capita basis has gone really to now sales tax base. So a few years ago we were in the $400,000 or $500,000 range. We're looking at maybe $55,000 this year of use tax. But a lot of this money that was on that use tax line should go up into the sales tax line. We just don't know if it's one-to-one or exactly how it's going to go until that starts flowing out. And then the rest of these other revenues here are pretty stable. I mean, building permits were projecting to go down a little bit, but that's really just based on how many projects are coming into the village. I mean, we've had years where we've had almost $1 million come in, but we're just kind of budgeting on this one to be just really steady with just normal various smaller projects. Moving into the general fund, some of the major expenditures we're seeing so far in our first review, the police pension contribution is $2,054,850, which is about a $98,000 increase from last year, and that's based on our actuarial evaluation. Our City of Aurora dispatch fees, we don't know the number yet. Last year we had $297,000. So we're putting about a $300,000 placeholder just for the time being until we get that final number. We've got $209,000 for tree trimming, tree removal, replacements. We do have $463,000 of sales tax reimbursements budgeted. So we have 5 agreements total. That would be the Ford dealership, the Genesis dealership, Riverfront Ram, the inline stores between Target and JCPenney at the town center, and then starting up shortly the Beef Shack. Community events, so that's basically everything except North Aurora Days. We're budgeting at $121,150, and then our vehicle replacement. So this is just for buying future vehicles. A total in general fund $479,915 will be transferred over to that fund. On the capital projects fund side, the major revenue, non-home rule sales tax, we're projecting it to be $3,270,000. So that's up $380,000 from this current year budget. Of that money, though, we do have $1,238,675 is designated to go over to pay for the new Public Works facility debt payment, and then electricity and gas tax $566,500. So that's up about $3,000 from this current budget. Some of the major expenditures are 2026 road program, $2.1 million. The village, the lift elevator, which is right outside here, we've been having some problems with that and finding parts, or if it ever breaks. So we're looking at possibly replacing that. If it comes back where it's just not cost effective to replace it, we probably won't do it, but we're just kind of putting a placeholder there just in case bids or plans come back favorable. We have the Veterans Memorial Phase 1. So this is a carryover. We expect it to kind of start in this current first fiscal year, but then carrying over about $700,000 to finish it in the next. We did have that $505,000 CDBG grant to go against that, so that brings the kind of total net cost down. New village message board, $125,000, and then the silo lights and electrical replacement, $250,000. We did get about $121,000 of insurance proceeds that partially offset this cost. Moving into the TIF funds, the Route 31 TIF is dissolving this year, so we will be coming up at a future meeting with an ordinance to dissolve the TIF and stop collecting money on that. We project the final year of revenue about $807,500. It's a slight increase over this current year, $22,000. We project the end of the TIF to have $861,000. So whether or not we transfer that, as we've done, to the United TIF, or we surplus money back to the various taxing bodies, that'll be something we'll decide when we kind of bring the TIF closeout back and pass that dissolving ordinance later this year. And on the United TIF fund, we're projecting about $1.6 million of revenue, about $85,000 increase from this current year. Of that money, though, we do rebates about $744,000 back to the I-88 corporate park development. We're carrying over a portion of the Route 31 Airport Road intersection improvements, $497,000, but we did have a $500,000 DCO grant to pay for a portion to a lot of that money. We'd have some money set aside for property purchases of about $1.2 million. And then based on some of the feedback we had at the strategic planning, we put money in there, $900,000 to maybe construct a band shell or some seating out in Riverfront Park. So we're going to get into kind of coming up with some designs for that. A few of the other funds really quick. Motor fuel tax, we do have money in there for the Orchard Gateway reconstruction, $650,000, and the normal $90,000 for our crack sealing. In the insurance fund, our annual risk management contribution has gone up to $450,900, so that's up $25,000 from the current year. As that's been going up each year, we've been taking kind of money away from our general fund property tax levy and moving money more over to pay for the insurance. So that's kind of going up each year about $25,000 or so the last handful of years. On the sanitary sewer fund, we have some additional improvements for sewer repairs and improvements. I think just last month, or 2 months ago, we approved a contract to do some lining from sewer. So we're just continuing going about and targeting some problem areas on the sewer side, and then $75,000 for cleaning and televising. Moving into the water fund. So our current water rates are $5.95 per 1,000 gallons and a $16 minimum for the first 3,000 gallons. We're still going through the water master plan and determining the future capital and what revenues need to be to basically pay for all the things we need to do in the water system. We don't know what the final recommended water rates for next year are going to be, but I would anticipate an increase in both the rate and probably that minimum charge in order to pay for future debt or future capital improvements. As part of the Aurora packing, their new facility, their second impact fee, which we're projecting about $1.5 million, should come in next year once they get up and running. We have about $152,000 in cell tower rentals, and then we should have money coming in from DCO grants. We had the $500,000 and a $600,000 grant related to the central water tower construction, so that should come in offset. Some of the major expenditures within the water fund, we have $496,000 of principal and interest for our debt. The electricity for the various wells and treatment plants is budgeted at $675,000. That's an expense that has gone up significantly over these past few years. We have a corrosion control study plan for $450,000, which is basically an IEPA requirement to study the water chemistry to determine how to prevent lead from leaching into the pipes. Some planned capital. We have 4 total water main projects at about $2.1 million. Some well 4 improvements of $225,000, well 7 improvements for $400,000. East treatment plant electrical and grounding improvements, $400,000, and then the final payments of the central water tower to finish it up at about $1.5 million.
Just a couple of things about the water fund, because obviously we talked about water rates in a long meeting with the board a few months ago. As our water master plan study has basically wrapped up, we have been talking about water rates a little bit more internally. We have another meeting tomorrow, and water rates are going to be pretty scary soon, because we're starting to look at over the next 25 years, we have an estimated $100 to $125 million worth of upgrades that have to go into the system. So what we're trying to do tomorrow is go through all of the upgrades, see if there's anything we can tweak, put them on better schedules to basically to string them out a little bit longer in some areas, so we can expand that cost over time. so we're not hitting residents as, that hard. We're going to do our best to keep it as low as we can. In the meantime, you look at things on there, but there's things that have to be done that we unfortunately, I mean, there's reasons for them, but we have to do them. The corrosion control study, even if you remove all the lead lines in North Aurora, you still have to have a corrosion control study, and you still have to do corrosion control for the entirety of the system, even with no lead lines. So it's just a requirement. It's going to be maybe $50,000 in operating cost a year every year, even after the lead lines are off. So you have stuff like that. Well 4's been out of service for a couple months. They tried to fix it with a couple fixes. They didn't work. We're actually, because we never want to have a well out of service that long, Brian and I have been talking about going to waive bids and bring it directly to the board with a company we know can fix the problem. But you look at that, that's $225,000. It popped up out of nowhere because the well was working fine, and then it just stopped running. So, I mean, the water system has a lot of things going on, and we definitely want to sit with the board and make sure that we go through that schedule and make it as comfortable as we can to get the water system up and running to its highest level.
Just a few more here. Our vehicle and equipment fund. New vehicle requested this year. We have 3 new police squads with buying the vehicles and outfitting them, $200,000, and then a new water truck, pickup truck, $70,000. On the equipment side, upgrading the police community room, audio visual, $100,000, and then buying a compact wheeler for $50,000 on the public works side. And then some other considerations. This current year, we're expecting our general fund surplus to be $265,000. So this does include making our budgeted $400,000 capital transfer. So once that transfer is made from the general fund to the capital projects fund, about $265,000 leftover money. This would bring our general fund ending reserve to about $10,433,000, or 66.2% of expenditure. So a very healthy reserve. And then the one thing that we did mention earlier, that new position. Since we mentioned it doesn't really revolve hiring any new employees, everybody who's involved currently works here, and we're just adding a position, eliminating a position, making somebody full-time. We might, if the board is open to it, bring it back as a budget amendment this current year and just get it kind of moving faster than waiting until June 1st.
Yeah, the idea with that is the Public Works building opening soon. Open to the public to, come in and ask questions. And we've never had that before. We've never had the ability basically for the public to come directly to the Public Works building. We'd like to have somebody actually at the building, so when people show up, there's someone sitting at that front desk. And otherwise, not that Brian and them can't see or monitor or hear a chime when the doorbell rings, when the door opens. But it's, they could be in different parts of the building. So we want to get that position there in the next, hopefully by mid-April.
And then finally, over the next couple of weeks, we'll be actually finishing the draft budget, the whole document, get that posted to the website before our March 16th meeting, so that the board has time to review it. It's there for the public to look at. We'll go over the budget in much more depth than tonight on that meeting. Well, on the committee of the whole meetings for the April 6th and 20th, in case we have any changes, we get new information or tweak the budget a little bit, we'll bring those changes back. We'll have our official budget public hearing on April 20th, and then bring the final budget back on May 4th to approve. That's all I have. If there's any questions?
No.
All right, thanks, Jason. Item 2, Steve.
Thanks, Nathan. Okay, item number 2 on the agenda tonight is going over our strategic plan. As the board remembers, we had our strategic plan workshop in January, and as part of that workshop, we talked about new big-ticket items, including new developments in town, vacant lands, what the future looks like, and the types of things you want to see and you don't want to see. We went through all of the results of the board's comments, and we came up with a few tweaks. I mean, the good thing is this, there's a lot of consistency there, so the board has a lot of the same goals, objectives, objectives and action steps to get to where you want to be. Tonight, I'm going to stop a couple times on a few slides to get to showcase something new and see how you feel about it. The first slide in front of you, I'm going to walk through the slides. So this is currently already there, but as you see, the red is going to be things that we've either accomplished or is no longer valid. So they get removed from the strategic plan, and anything that's highlighted in yellow are additions. In this slide, we are a lot of the logo has been around for a while, so our intent with this slide was to find other ways. And if you see that second point where it says identify opportunities, we don't want to lose the ability to identify us as North Aurora. We still get people who actually refer to us as Aurora on a regular basis. And so we, once again, we love our neighbors and everything, but we also want to be our own town, so we want to make sure that we keep that identity going. And as far as beautification efforts, that's another thing that we're going to be looking for. And we're always looking, as Natalie will tell you, we're always looking at community events. So I think we're up to about between 12 and 15 standalone events a year, not to mention all the business visitations that we're doing now, all the meets with the mayors. We're starting to really get out there. That budget that Jason put out there that's at $121,000, it looks larger than it is. A lot of that is included. There's two big ones in there, Oktoberfest and 4th of July. 4th of July alone with the fireworks is around $40,000. And then Oktoberfest, there's a lot of upfront costs because we buy the mugs, but we also make money off the beer. If I remember correctly, I think we made between $10,000 and $15,000 back off Oktoberfest last year in our first year. So, second slide here. We have the Veterans Memorial, and the good news with that is that we have a plan and that it's been bid and that the bid is ready to go to the board as early as next meeting. We're just waiting, as earlier mentioned, we're just waiting for the county to give us the go-ahead to bring it forward. So we tweaked some of the plan to basically say that we want to build it. That's our next action step. We also added create a program for the names of the veterans on the wall. You may remember from a while ago, everyone who has a brick there, it's our intent the best we can, because construction, we want to try to preserve the bricks best we can. But anyone who bought a brick, we're going to reach out to, and we're going to try to return the brick to them. And then the inscription that's on that brick, we are putting on the wall for them. And one of the areas on our flags where you actually can put, they're basically little aluminum tags with the inscriptions on them. But then we also have to create a program so new people who want to add to the wall. So if you want to buy an inscription going forward, you can still do that as well. Next one here, pretty easy. We're just getting rid of the classification of the school resource officer because it is full-time position now. This is one that I was going to stop at. So right now we have in our current budget, it says review areas for potential solar farms. We tweaked it to review potential zoning for solar farms within our incorporated boundaries. Right now, the state law allows solar farms to basically locate outside of incorporated boundaries. And by state law, the counties have a very stringent ability. They have to follow guidelines, and essentially if the solar farm meets those guidelines, they essentially get approved. So what's going on right now is there's a lot of municipalities that are actually going to try to preserve local control of zoning solar farms within their incorporated boundaries. I also am under the impression that counties are actually looking to have a little bit more of a say in solar farms that are within a certain distance from incorporated boundaries of town, so that there's a little bit of a local voice. What we're looking to do is, Nathan and I talked about it, as soon as April, we're actually thinking about bringing back the idea of just looking where solar farms in North Aurora, where you would even zone them. Because right now they're not zoned at all, which means if someone came out of the solar farm, it would essentially go to our I-2 district, which is the catch-all district. They'd have to go through a process to get zoned in, plan commission, all of that. What we're saying is, instead of doing that, we could preemptively go to the board, see where you think the district belongs, that they, like if they petition where, and then you can still put them through a special use process. So that's what we want to bring back to the board, is just ask you what your opinion is and where you'd like to see them if they came to North Aurora. Dog park in North Aurora, nothing changing. Good news is the park district continues to work on a grant for it from last we heard. So I think they're still moving forward. This next one here is, this is for creating community engagement, and as you see, instead of more of village events, we just said evaluate events because we decided that once you get to a certain number with one person, it's hard to keep adding them, but what you can do is you can tweak them and get rid of ones that aren't working and add new ones. So that's our plan right now. We removed all of the non-residential district zoning classifications because Nathan did it. Here's another one that we wanted to kind of pause at. We had a lengthy discussion at the strategic plan workshop of future development on vacant land. We used to say Deer Run, Autumn Ridge, Mango Creek specifically. Deer Run, as you know now, is the developer is looking to create Silverleaf, which is essentially the old Deer Run. That's on Plan Commission tomorrow night, so that's still moving through the process. Autumn Ridge is being built right now as we speak, so that's half built and moving fast. And Mango Creek is the one that we pause at because we've been getting a lot of hits from developers who are looking at different types of housing developments, including rental communities. And that was one where the board had kind of mixed feelings on before. You know, some people are like, that's fine. Some people said, I'm not sure. What I can tell you is this. The board at the meeting said that out of the 5 categories that you looked at for what you wanted to see on vacant land that was zoned for residential, you wanted to see single-family homes. Some of the rental communities we're seeing are now single-family rentals. So they're owned by one company that owns all of them. It's operated like a complex, like an apartment complex would with a clubhouse and everything. The concern that staff's having, and we've had to tell a couple developers recently, is that until we put this yellow into the strategic plan, a lot of the developers want to come to the board with a concept plan that doesn't show any commercial. And we've said from our strategic planning, we've told them the board has made it clear to us that the board would like commercial on the Orchard Road corridor. So we're not saying that you can't have any residential in these vacant lands along Orchard and Randall Roads. We're just saying that you should keep the frontage areas for some component of commercial. The last developer we looked at only does residential, and the property owner doesn't want to maintain any of the remaining property, so he wants it to be they both wanted to be 100% residential. So I told them, and we've had other calls like this, based on the board's reaction tonight, if we put that yellow in, I can tell them now, this is in our strategic plan, the board has guided us that you want to keep a commercial component on those vacant lands on Orchard and Randall Road. So if you don't have any, if you have feedback, now's the time, otherwise this is what would go in.
Yeah, that's what we want. That's what we all agreed to, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, this one got an update. For the record, town center is spelled differently in 3 different ways, and the staff argues about which one is right. This is the spelling that's on Town Center Drive on the street sign, so that's what we're going with. But we've seen Towny Center, Towny Centre, and Town Center. So this is, I believe, also the platted name, so this is the real name. What we're doing here is the board brought up the signs in the disrepair, and I had said that the staff had been working on trying to come up with some plan because it was complex. The good news is after that meeting about a month ago, Nathan had reached out, and one of the management companies that owns some of the property in the town center, they have claimed at least partial ownership of 2 of the 4 signs that are up there. And they've actually been doing some work. We've seen them. If you look on Randall, there's actually a box open right now. We saw somebody working in that box a couple weeks ago. So that is making progress. The other thing we want to do is there's still some vacant parcels. Nathan, Mike, and I have been coming up with some ideas for future development in the Orchard Gateway area and trying to get them signage off of 88 as well. So that's in here. That covers everything. It covers the repairing of the current signs and looking at future sign options. We basically took out some of the stuff that we've already done in the economic development plan and basically said pursue, instead of specific uses, they're all labeled now in the plan. So we're just saying stick to the plan that the board approved for economic development and go forward. Nathan always likes to put zoning in, so sorry, but Nathan. So here, we want to look at our subdivision and zoning codes, and quite frankly, this has been something we've wanted to do for a long time. Our subdivision code needs to be updated, so Nathan gets Brandon, Brandon gets Nathan, the 2 of them get to work on those codes together for future subdivisions and current maintenance. Jason beefed up, so Jason, amazing job, Village's finances are strong. The poor guy has one slide in the whole strategic plan, so he beefed it up this year. But in there, if you notice, we're looking at things like the state pension legislation, future tax levy increases. You saw tonight that some of the revenues have been dipping this last year for some reason, so we've been monitoring that pretty closely. There was some talk about some dip potentially in the LGDF fund. That's our income tax fund this year. So we're looking at all of those and just trying to better understand the use tax and why we're seeing the drop off in that as well, and just keeping an eye on all those things. We got some of the things done here. We actually did add the Code Red system, and we did start doing online permit payments, which has been going really well. And Nathan's got a kiosk now that people can come up and actually they can come to Village Hall and they can fill it out electronically right there if they want, so we don't have to send them home, don't have to give them paper and say bring it back, and we walk them through it if they have any questions. So on this one here, we just changed a small thing. Jason and I always like to update our purchasing policy. We do it about every 2 years, so we just want to keep that going forward. So community outreach. So the police added a few goals this year, a few objectives. Here are 3 programs that we do, and we do them well. And what we're looking at is not necessarily expanding them, but looking at ways that we can make them more efficient or gain a better abilities from. And the first one is the canine program. Now, I will tell you that we now have 2 dogs. We have one dog that can sniff, and as we say, it does drugs and it does articles of clothing and things that it's trained to sniff for. And then, of course, we have our comfort dog. I drove down the street the other day and I saw our canine in action, actually, at a traffic stop. So it's nice that we have that. It can find missing people. But we're never necessarily done with that. We're trying to see if there's another option. I mean, basically through grants and whatnot, a lot of the dog programs have been paid for, and we're getting a lot of benefit out of them. The license plate readers, that is something that we want to look into a little bit more. A lot of towns have that already. We have cameras. A lot of towns have cameras. We're just looking at different ways that instead of one person typing in license plates individually, rather than that on night patrols and whatnot going through neighborhoods, they could actually get a reader that reads it for them. The other thing is the drone program. Once again, we're not expanding it by any means right now. We're just looking at if there's better ways to utilize it or if there's things we don't know about for the future. So this doesn't set us on a path of doing anything specific. It just says that we're going to keep evaluating these. Joe's department has done an amazing job with traffic. Traffic complaints are one of the biggest complaints we get from residents here. Everybody thinks they have speeding in their neighborhood. And so what we do is we now have in 2 or 3 sections of town, we have permanent signs that actually can track. Some of these signs now can not only tell the drivers their speed, but they actually record their speeds for us so we can review their data. And what that has done is, and I'm going to give this on Grant Street, we specifically, and we have mobile units too now, not just the trailer. So when we put the signs out, we have 2 specifically that we can put out in an area, collect data for a week or 2, tell us exactly how many cars drove down in each direction, tell us exactly what those speeds were for each vehicle, and it can help summarize the time when we see the most speeding so that the officers know exactly when to have extra patrols, so we're not spending a ton of overtime sitting there hoping to catch somebody. You're basically putting your eggs in a basket where you know they're already going to be speeding. And that has helped tremendously. Joe's department has been going around different neighborhoods for about 6 months to a year now. We rotate, so collector streets, like in Tanner Trails, it would be like Bauer would be a good one because it's like 6 blocks long with no stop signs. Banbury is a classic one. People might do 55 and a 30 on Banbury. And then, you get this area, we have, every neighborhood has Pine Creek is another one. Every neighborhood has a street like that. So what we're doing now is we're rotating, and the cops are sending patrols out there more often, and they're doing it rotationally so they come back. So they don't just do it once and stop, they come back every few months and check on it. So what we want to do is possibly in the future add another full-time officer to do traffic specifically, but also the amount of revenue, and it's not because we're not doing it for the revenue necessarily, but the amount of revenue that we have taken in because of truck stops because we now have certified officers who are finding overweight trucks, and we're doing regular overweight truck details. I mean, I don't know, it's over 100,000 this year in revenue, just on those stops, and those were people we weren't pulling over at all for years. So that's in there to look at. This was just a typo, so we fixed it. The water study here, believe it or not, as the totality of our water system is, like I said earlier, scary, and how much stuff is there and how much money it is. But the good news is, look at all the red we have. We've actually marked off a lot of what we were trying to do, and we just added a couple. The IPA requires us to do corrosion control, so we'll be doing that. And we also want to finish up that water master plan, which includes the water rates. Public Works facility is done, ready to open in a few weeks officially. And we'll make an announcement absolutely on our website and let people know when the public can come visit. And then, of course, the date for the open house. And then here we added, years ago, our tree program was only around 60,000 in the budget. It's around 200,000 now. We have gotten super aggressive with tree trimming because that was our #1 complaint from residents. And we have put money and effort towards it. And now I was told a week ago that we have 43 trees on the list to be trimmed. To put that in perspective, most of the time that list was over 100. So the fact that we're keeping up, and there will always be trees on the list. So the idea that it's down to 40, you can get it down to 0, but in a few months it'll be back up to 50. But if we could just keep on the pace that we're doing, we think we can get through the 7 areas of town in about 5 years and put us on a good spot. The ash trees are highlighted here. There's only a handful that are being treated in the parkways. We have 160 ash trees left. Some of them are dropping branches. Some of them are showing some significant death. I told Brian, I said, part of that tree trimming budget, we'd like to maybe put a 5-year plan together where we take the worst ones and we just start taking them down one by one and getting rid of them. The thing about ash trees that bother me too is the longer the dead ones or the dying ones stay up, the more they can infect ones that aren't dead or dying.
You're right.
We're getting close to the end here. Burying and power, we added the word relocate. We found with the fire station when they moved in, burying a power line may be a fallacy in some ways. You don't necessarily always bury a power line. A lot of times they just simply relocate the power. So the pole goes away, but they just put the electric to a different pole that's already existing. Or they put another pole somewhere else and they'll add 4 poles onto one somewhere. So what we did is put relocate because we think we're going to be able to do some more on 31 in the future. And we think a lot of that, because they have to reestablish power to other locations, will most likely be relocating power from one pole to a different one. But that means the pole goes away either way, so.
Good.
We changed the silo to Berman Tower. And then this was in the budget. You saw us put money for Riverfront Park. So we actually put a goal, an action step that says design and build an entertainment performance venue. The reason it's kind of wonky and it's not necessarily a stage or a band shell is until we hone in on exactly what we want it to look like, I don't know what to call it exactly. In the concept plan, it shows a stage coming off of State Street on basically pitched into the side of the hill. So it's overlooking the park. Which is really nice for band access. So I'm not sure if that's a stage, a band shell, I'm not sure what to call it yet. So when we hone in on a concept, we'll know exactly what it is. But it is definitely for performances. This is just a tweak of wording. And then this is the last slide, and this is continue to work with, right now, WBK for a road diet. Right now, we're waiting on IDOT to get back to us on an issue, and once we get past that issue, we'll keep moving forward with having them review a potential road diet. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts? Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
All right, that concludes our discussion. Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. All right, good night, everyone.